Hi there, James Savage from National Club Golfer down here at Bearwood Lakes today. They're the home of Mizuno's new Tour fitting centre. They've got the Tour truck here as well, and I'm going to be going through the fitting process for the brand new JPX919 irons. But stay tuned because we've actually got a competition for one of you guys to win a fitting and a full set of Mizuno JPX919 irons. Okay, so like I say, Mizuno have got a brand new Tour fitting centre down here at Bearwood Lakes. It's where their Tour players will come to get tweaked or fitted into new models. So it's a real state-of-the-art fitting facility here, which is just for the Tour players. Maybe at one point in the future it might be open to members of the public and average golfers like you and me. But like I say, we're here today because I wanted to go through the full fitting process with these new Mizuno JPX919 irons. 3 models, as I'm sure you'll remember from our initial review video. We've got the Tour version that the Tour players like to use. We've got the forged version, which sits in the middle, and then we've got the hot metal, which is a bit oversized, stronger lofts, forgiving, really powerful. So it's going to be interesting for me as a 15 handicapper to go through that fitting process, going through it with like a Tour fitter, you know, a guy that, you know, works with some of the best players in the world, knows everything, has worked in the industry for years, you know, knows everything about shafts and, you know, lofts and how different models might work best for me. So it's going to be really interesting to go through the fitting process with Alex here today to find out, you know, whether or not it's the Tour, the forged or the hot metal which are working the best for me. And as I say, we have actually got a competition for you to win a fitting and a set of JPX919 irons. So you're going to have to stay tuned to this video to find out how you can enter and win this absolutely fantastic prize. But let's go over to my fitting with Alex, see how I get on and see which models are working best for me. Okay, so we've come over onto the Mizuno Tour truck down here at Bearwood Lakes, and I'm joined by Alex, who's their Tour fitter, works very closely with all the Tour players like your Eddie Pepperells and your Ross Fishers and, you know, contracted and non-contracted players. I'm just touching on my fitting. Obviously for me, like a 15 handicapper, in terms of like my fitting, would you sort of start in the middle and see if we need to go either way?
Yeah, well, I mean, we began with the forged, didn't we? And we had a look at that, and that delivered some good numbers. You know, it was a nice balance between yardage gains and also dispersion and consistent front to back. We moved on to the hot metal to see if that would give you anything a little bit more. The middle shots were longer, which we would expect. It was a little bit more forgiving, but there was a bigger variance on longest to shortest. So we spoke, and something that you wanted was consistency from the longest to the shortest, which we mentioned before. So that's why we ended up with the forged for you.
Yeah, like I say, I found that the feel was that little bit much nicer as well. But, you know, we could see from the numbers, and it just seemed to be, you know, fairly nice and consistent, which really irons. Consistency is the key word, isn't it? It's no real use to me if I've got a 7-iron that can go 150 most of the time, but then go 165, you know, some other time, because chances are that time I absolutely middle in, it goes 165 is when there's a bush over the back of the green and I'm in there. So, you know, I think that's why the fitting process is key. And like Alex mentioned there, you know, fitting on distance when it comes to irons is bonkers, really. It's all about that consistency. So, yeah, so we went with the forged model from 5 to pitching wedge. We talked about maybe going for the hot metal in the longer irons, but we did just, you know, find that the forge were, you know, kind of ticking every box for me, sit in the middle nicely, and they're working for me. Now the shaft was quite interesting because one of the shafts that was recommended was the Dynamic Gold R300. The numbers were good and consistent, but something in my head was saying, oh, it's regular, I'm normally a stiff. I wasn't quite happy with that, and just tell us a little bit about working with players who maybe have a preconceived idea and what's the best way to kind of work with them if they're sort of thinking, oh, I'm not sure I should be using that extra stiff or that regular.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting you said, so it was the AMT Tour White R300 that initially popped up. We had a few with that. Numbers were good. Initially, it delivered the best dispersion. It was the tightest, but you did say, and when we had the conversation, you felt that the club was lagging a little bit behind you and you felt it was a little bit soft. So from that, I thought, let's just jump up to the S300, see how that feels, if there's any performance gains, losses, anything that we need to take into consideration. And as it happened, there was very little difference between the numbers. You felt that potentially you weren't quite swinging as well today as you can do. It's about conversations where you need to speak to the person that you're fitting and find out, you know, an honest opinion, how they're feeling. You would thought that, you know, when you were playing a bit more and that you would be comfortable with an S300. Off the numbers that we did today, there was no massive loss on S300 versus the R300, so we went with the S300. One, because you were comfortable with it, there were no losses of performance on it, the numbers were still stacking up very similar to what the R300 was doing. So
yeah. And I guess if we were in a situation where the data and what you were seeing was saying to me, look, that S300 is definitely not working for you, I guess you have to sort of say, look, I know what I'm doing here, you need to trust me, that shaft's going to work better for you. And I guess with club golfers, especially if they've got a bit of ego or preconceived ideas, I guess you have to you have to say, look, you're paying a lot of money here for these irons. You want them to work. Take the labels off if you have to.
With our equipment, there's no upcharges on either shaft, so it's not like you're going to be talked into a shaft because that you need that one because there's an increased cost. It's literally these are the numbers that this is producing. This is what this is producing. So and especially now with launch monitors, there's no hiding from the numbers. You can see what's doing what and why it's doing that. So you need to have an honest conversation, but term it in the way that the golfer is not feeling bad about it, should we say.
That's fair enough. Well, I think there's definitely been enough information from my fitting today that proves that custom fitting is absolutely essential. I know I bang on about it all the time in all our videos, but you have to go through that process, and I think Mizuno, particularly with their swing DNA software, they are a little bit ahead of the game in terms of proving to the golfer why these particular shaft options are working for you. And obviously another good thing about the JPX919 range, like Alex said, is there's loads of shafts available at no upcharge. So you're going to get fitted into the one that works best for you. So Alex, thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure, no problem.
Looking forward to giving the JPX919 Forged a hit out on the course.
Excellent.
Okay, so that was really interesting for me today to go through the process, test a few different heads out and see which model was working best for me. And it was quite clear for me really that the JPX919 Forge was the best one for me, because I just found it to be really consistent. It still seemed to have plenty of forgiveness on those off-centre hits. Wasn't seeing too much of a drop off on my not best shots, shall we say. And then when I hit a really good one, it wasn't flying too far, flying an extra 10 yards, which is what we found when we used the hot metal irons, that when I absolutely ripped one, I was just seeing a real jump in distance, which is not what I want to see. I want consistency for irons. I want them to be a tight group in front to back, knowing that I can pick a number that if I've got 150 yards to the flag, 155, that club, which would normally be a 7-iron for me, is going to do that job. So that was a no-brainer really, because the looks are good, the sound and feel is really nice. They're just a little bit crisper, feel like a little bit more control than with the hot metal. And one of the problems that I have is that I launch the ball too high. The way I deliver the club, I add a little bit of loft, and I like the look of the Tour. We maybe could have thought about the Tour irons in some of the shorter irons, but just with the lofts, and there's a lot of extra loft on there, and I still need that forgiveness, and I don't really feel like I was sacrificing any of that good looks and feel with the JPX919 Forge. So that was an easy decision for me to make, to go into the JPX919 Forge, 5 to pitch in wedge, and I was really happy with that. On the shaft, again, very interesting to go through that swing DNA sequence and test out a few models. But when I was settled on that S300 model that I was using, it just, again, the consistency was there. I felt like I could deliver the club nicely. The spin rates were pretty good, and again I was getting that nice tight grouping. I think with irons, ignore the distance. Well, not ignore it, but just really look at those tight groupings. And when you've got a head and a shaft combination that's giving you those tight groupings, like I had with the JPX919 Forge, that's really what you need to be looking at. So I'm happy, but we want to make you happy. We want to give you the chance to get yourself fitted by Mizuno, go for the full process, swing DNA, and get fitted into a full set of JPX919 irons, whether that be the Tour, the Forged, or the hot metal. It's an absolutely fantastic prize that we're offering to you, and here's how you can enter. Firstly, you need to be subscribing to this channel. So if you're not already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and then in the comment section below, we want you to tell us which JPX919 model you like the look of and why you think that's going to be the best model for your game. So put all your answers in there, subscribe to this channel, and then in a few weeks time we're going to pick out a winner. We'll come back to you in another video and tell you who the winner is. It's an absolutely fantastic prize, so make sure you enter to be in with a chance of winning. So subscribe, post your comment below in that answer section, or if you've got anything else you want to comment about, any other questions about the JPX919 irons, post them below as well. We will get back to you. But really interesting day for me. I'm absolutely buzzing to get my hands on a set of JPX919 Forged irons. Can't wait for them to arrive and get them out on the course. But we want to get you give you a taste of the fitting process as well and how good these irons are. So make sure you enter this competition today. Thanks very much for watching. Get entering, and we'll see you again soon.